First time. I should do a slightly harder though. Oh yeah, I missed it. Yes, I was never very good at marbles as a kid, you know. Well, welcome to my world. This is a global view of things. It's my collection of globes. And the marbles, when you look at them carefully, actually are much cleverer than you think. They've got some very, very nice features to them. These are American ones I picked up in the early 90s. When you look at it carefully, it's actually got a very, very accurate depiction of the land masses, the oceans and the land masses. It should go that way, shouldn't it, when it's turning around. And look at this red one here. Again, beautiful depiction of the land masses as you turn around and see the oceans. Superbly done, but they are marbles, so kids can play with them, and adults can appreciate the artwork that's gone into it. Likewise, a yo-yo. Well, that's a nice common thing, but look at this one here. It's a yo-yo globe, and it'll just about yo-yo down. But at the same time, when you look at it carefully and appreciate it, you can see that it's got all the land masses, all slightly proud, which is nice. It's got a sort of a geographical relief to them. As you turn it around slowly, you can see the oceans. They've only got a few of the countries actually written down as what they are. But it's a working yo-yo. That's what I like about it. And at the same time, it teaches kids the geographical land masses and how the world actually looks. So that was a nice one, I think. And then there's a couple of balls here, which are fun. Again, globally. These are actually exercise balls for exercising your wrist. So this one, you're supposed to squeeze it hard and it slowly reforms. And then when it's up like that, you can turn it around slowly and realise you're looking at a perfect depiction of the land masses. Again, slightly geographical relief, which is a nice feature of it. The blue, which is the ocean, is all flat and the rest of it sticks up a bit. This big one, that doesn't bounce very well, but this one does actually bounce rather nicely. And again, when you squidge it hard and then it'll come out. Yes, well, I appreciate the fact that they've actually taken the trouble to create an accurate depiction of the globe of the world. Very nicely done with balls as well. There's another one here which I've got to repair. I've had it for some time now, for about 30 years, and it's dried out. It's a glide ball. It's got a nice little feature of, again, the globe map. It's weighted so that when you rock it like that, it's training in one place. What I have to do now is get liquid in here, probably water and salt, to get the right density, and then it'll float in that. And when I seal it up, it'll glide across the table, always staying upright, which is a nice feature. So the North Pole is always facing up towards the ceiling. So when that's repaired, that'll be fun to do. And the last of the toy ones is, again, it looks as though it's in pieces, but no, this is a jigsaw puzzle, and a very nice one too. This is a fairly recent invention. Only about 20 years ago, they found a way of making curved pieces which stay together, and this obviously makes a sphere. They help you with the construction by having numbers, one, and then that's the North Pole, and all the way around. And it's fairly easy to put together when you follow the numbering system. And at the end of it, you've got a nice map of the world, a globe map of the world, about the size of a football, but accurately showing all the features of the planet Earth. So toys, there's plenty of them. When it comes to some non-toys, but I would call them executive toys, there's quite a number of desktop type globes which are nice. This is one of the ones that I think is my favourite. I came across it about 30 years ago, I think. When you turn it like this, it's got two movements. It's got an equatorial band, which is a very unusual feature. This is a German one, and it also turns over the axis going through it. And if you turn it like that, it'll sort of do a very interesting rolling action, which is rather like tumbling in space. It's very peculiar, that. I love that. So a nice bit of construction by the Germans. The most sophisticated of all, I think, is this one here by Douglas French, called Mover Globe. And for this one, we need to put a bit of extra lighting on it to make it work. It's just about working without it, but let's just for a moment put the light on and get a bit of real movement here. What's happening now is the light is going in onto the North Pole, which is semi-translucent. It's hitting a little solar cell inside, which is giving off electricity, powering a tiny motor, and that's pushing against a bar magnet, and then makes the whole of the sphere revolve. It goes on for as long as there's sunlight or room lights to make it go. Douglas French said that it's got two liquids inside there. Actually, it's got an outer shell, you see, which is clear, and then the inner shell, which is floating in it. Two liquids inside that make it work. And you can't actually make this work if it's a building with a lot of metal to it, a lot of girders and so on in it, because it weakens the Earth's magnetic field. But not in normal use, it'll just keep going like that as a lovely talking point to any office or room. Beautiful done. But it's just a very, very sophisticated design. The interior of it, which is amazing. Here's another liquid one, which I picked up about 30 years ago. I think to make this work, you've actually got to do a bit of twirling to get the silvery the silver particles in the matter coming up to the surface, and then when I turn it around, they'll start swirling inside the globe of the world. So if I stop about there, there's El Nino swirling around. It affects all the world's weather systems, I believe. But there's a huge, great body of water going across the Pacific Ocean, first one way and then the other way, called El Nino. And this is a lovely way of demonstrating El Nino. Nice one, that. Then if you go to outside, well, there's a balloon as well, of course. You must have the last of the toy ones would be a balloon, I suppose. But there's several which are not round worlds, as the Earth is roughly round. There's square worlds, and some of them are very cute and they're not that distorted, actually. This one is a good example of one. It's at the right angle, which I like. It's actually 23 degrees, which is how the Earth sits in the plane of the sun of the solar system. So when you put it in there, that's roughly the right. And the distortion is not too bad, actually, when you look at it carefully. But it's a square world, as Martin Baltine used to call it, the comedian. I like the idea of it as a little desktop novelty. There's another beautiful one here, which a company up in Scotland made, which is, it's got animals on the outside, but when you turn inside out, the cube becomes an icosahedron, and it becomes a global map. There we are, turn it inside out. There's a global map. It's a icosahedron. So there's, yes, that's Antarctica at the bottom, the Arctic at the top. Turn it slowly around, and there's all the continents roughly in the right position. 20-sided, 20 triangles. It's called icosahedron, and it shows the globe. And then it will turn back if you wanted to, but but it's rather nice to see it as a chain as well, and then ask people to try and put it together to form a globe. There's another very nice one with the Japanese Fujimoto cube, it's called, made about 20 years ago, and I do like this very much. You have to fold this in a very certain way, and there's the global map, and you end up with something like this. And again, it's a cube world. So the fun of this one here is the actual folding to get that is unbelievably clever. There's a lovely action with about 5 things happening at the same time as you're doing the fold. So really, it's an origamist's delight, but you end up with a nice, perfectly workable globe of the world. Well, there's one more here we have in the office, which I wanted to show, going back to the round ones, which is rather cute, isn't it? It's made of paper, so that you've got overlapping pieces, rather like segments of the orange, all coming together to the point, to the North Pole. And when they're all clipped together, and you put on this little thing to hold it together, there's a working globe of the world. Very nicely done. Then there's the world of Buckminster Fuller. He does some wonderful artistic ones. This is his Dymaxion globe. It's a construction there. I've partly assembled it. Well, it's pretty well fully assembled, but it's made of cardboard and it clips together. And when you put it on a base, there's the world with all the land masses and the oceans in the right perspective. Nicely done, and it's quite a lot of features, mathematical features, showing the distances are not so distorted from a true sphere, which is what the world is. And then a much more recent version of the same thing has just come out, because that's about 30 years old, that one, which is this one here, which is made of magnetic plastic. Again, this is the Dymaxion of Buckminster Fuller. And this will open up into one of those. And the fun of it is constructing it back into a globe as well, to finish it off. The last item is something that I started about 30 years ago, and I thought, well, should I ever have a go at finishing it? And it's something that I saw in Hamleys, in the window there. This is the largest toy shop in England, and the oldest too. And what it was a giant version of this little thing, a little electric engine. This is a Marklin engine, going around a giant version, much bigger than this, of the world. A lovely idea that, wasn't it? Going chuff, 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 and circulating around it. And the thing was suspended from the ceiling and gently moved due to the weight of the train. So I played with it for about 3 or 4 weeks and then gave up, I'm afraid, and it's been sitting there for 20 years now. I have noticed recently the technology's moved on. You can actually make engines and cars that size, and they're actually pulled along by a magnetic field, which is much more sophisticated. So my feeling is you're soon going to be able to make a globe about this size with a tiny shelf going around the equator, and it's going to have a minute version of a car or an engine going round and round and round. And I'm hoping someone will come up with a Kickstarter and get that going, because the technology is there now, and that would be absolute magic. I would certainly want to subscribe towards it myself. So, global view of things, but I love them all.